listening to Gossip Meets Couture. We are here with Nigel Barker. It's such an honor to have him on the show. Tell us a little bit about it. I know you started as a model.
I did.
So what made you go, I know you got into fashion after that, so what went to photography?
Well, I've always been interested in photography. I started sort of my photography career after I started modeling, but I was interested in photography at school. And I actually studied photography at high school. At the age of 14, I learned to print black and white. I just was never, advised to become a photographer when I was at school because it really wasn't a career choice. It was a hobby for most people, and it was like, hey, great hobby, have as much fun and games with it as you like. But we'd like, my parents and my teachers were, we'd like you to be a doctor. We'd like you to be, a banker, just a real job. So that was where my mind was. And in the late 80s, my mother, who was a model in her time, had entered me into a TV show called The Clothes Show. And there was a televised model search as a part of the competition. And I didn't win. I was in the top 3. And I just thought, okay, I'll give it a go as a bit of a model for a year in between high school and college. One thing led to another. I had a successful year of modeling. I thought I'll take 2 years. Because, by the way, I was meant to be studying medicine, which is an expensive course. And 2 years led to sort of financial independence for my family. And I thought, this is an interesting world I'm living in. And I got to see all these fabulous photographers. And this is the late 80s, early 90s. People like Bruce Weber, Stephen Meisel, Richard Avedon. I was fascinated with what they were doing, the careers they were leading, and the places I was traveling to in this world of fashion. That, I was a young man living in England who went to a boarding school and had, a very lucky life, but also a sheltered life. So to see this sort of the extremes of fashion, it was exciting, and I thought maybe this is something I'd like to, spend the rest of my life doing. So, come the 90s, the fashion industry changed dramatically. There was a big shift from my era of modeling, which was the sort of Amazonian models of Claudia Schiffer and Naomi Campbell and Christy Turlington and Cindy Crawford and what have you. And then came Kate Moss. It became heroin chic, grunge, androgyny. Kate Moss was 5'6" and flat-chested and nothing like what we were. And, but was I going to throw it all away? No, I thought, I've learned so much in my sort of 6-7 years of modeling, met so many people. I'd always had my camera by my side, and I started to sort of more seriously take pictures of people and obviously all my model friends. And by mid-90s, 96, I pretty much stopped modeling and became a full-time photographer, and I moved to New York and set up Studio NB in the meatpacking district, and I'm still there.
Very cool. And how did you bring your career to this point where it's so successful right now?
I mean, there's no sort of golden bullet to success. You have to be determined, you have to be ambitious, you have to persevere, you have to believe in yourself. It wasn't always easy. You worked very hard, 7 days a week, all hours of the day and night. I think one of my reasons for success is that I met my wife very early on. Chrissy, who I've been with now for 17 years, married for 12. Having someone who's by your side like that, who you love, who trusts you, you trust them, that teamwork, obviously 2 is stronger than 1, and being able to focus, because I really wasn't thinking about, I want to go on a date. That wasn't where my mind was. I'm like, I want to get my business sorted out. So we really worked together. She was doing makeup, I was shooting, and we would do our shoots in our apartment. We'd get all the furniture and pile it up onto the side, set up a little psych in our apartment, and turn, and shoot and work it out. And again, like I said, very hard work and being creative, and until you get noticed. And then we were noticed. People liked what we did, and really one thing led to another. And it took years. It wasn't an overnight success, so to speak.
I can imagine. And so what is it like working on America's Next Top Model? We have to ask about that.
No, of course. A lot of fun. Hey, I've been working on Top Model now for 17 seasons, almost a decade. We've seen a lot of things change. We've seen entire eras of fashion change. I look back on Top Model now and it's like, oh my goodness, like, what were we wearing, let alone anything else? I mean, it literally is another sort of time period. It's been very exciting. I've had my two children were born during shooting America's Next Top Model, and my life has changed dramatically. I never signed up to be a celebrity, but from obviously being on the other side of the camera, being filmed now myself, people know me, people recognize you, and you know, and they trust my opinion, which is nice, and I have a lot of fun with it. You know, it's given me the opportunity to work with amazing charities. I'm an ambassador now for one of the new United Nations initiatives called Girl Up. I'm going to be doing a rally for them this afternoon. I'm a spokesperson for the Humane Society of the United States. I work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I'm on the board of the Adeo Foundation. You know, there are many organizations that we work with, and it's fabulous to really be able to be a role model now, as much as, you know, having once been a fashion model.
Yes, definitely. And so what's it like working with Tyra Banks?
She's wonderful. As wonderful as ever. She's on tour right now with her book Model Land. It came out September 13th. It's exciting. You know, we all feel very lucky, you know, to be doing what we're doing, and you know, and to have this opportunity. And you know, we've got a huge fan base. The show Top Model now plays in 170 countries around the world, and you know, we have a weekly viewership of almost 100 million people. So I know it's quite extraordinary, and we take that responsibility quite seriously, and at the same time we enjoy ourselves.
So, I mean, how does it feel, though, because I know these young girls, they have the dream to be a mom. I mean, how does it feel sort of like as a judge to have their future in your hands in a way? What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, absolutely, that's exactly what we're doing. But I mean, that's just what it is. That's what the game is, but that's what everything is. That's what life is like. Every time you go in anywhere, you know, you go to see an employer and they say yes or no, they have your future in their hands. You know, and what we're doing is we have a competition that, you know, is enabling people to, one, see what the modelling model is about, but two, we've made a sort of a real effort to change the perceptions of the fashion business. And it hasn't been easy. You know, initially a lot of people in fashion slightly sort of thought, oh come on, Top Model is a TV show, it's not really the fashion business. But here we are, 10 years later, very successful, still on air, bigger than ever, and we have people like Andre Leontali, editor-at-large of American Vogue, is now a judge. Our magazine sponsor is Italian Vogue. So you could argue that we're more in vogue now than we ever were when we were like a cult show just opening up on UPN. A network that doesn't even exist. The network that started us doesn't exist.
I know you have young children, but would you let your daughter get into the modeling if she wanted to?
No, of course. You know, if she wanted to, then absolutely, I would support her in anything that she would want to do. I mean, you know, living in the United States, she's very lucky that she has so many opportunities that, you know, that she can do whatever she likes. You know, my main thing is to be supportive as a father and, you know, show her, you know, as much of the world as possible, and hopefully she'll grow up to be a worldly young lady and make the right decisions. And you know, the modelling industry was good to me, and you know, it can be good to a lot of people. It certainly plucked my mother out of virtual poverty in Sri Lanka and gave her the opportunity to work in, you know, in England and, you know, change my own family's dynamics. Many people don't realise that actually both my parents were born in India, and my mother is from Sri Lanka. And you know, so I saw the modelling industry and what it offered my mother as actually a sort of a passport out of that situation to sort of Europe. And, you know, when I see girls here on Top Model, many of them, you know, haven't got, you know, not all of them have a great education. Some of them, you know, have been homeless on America's Next Top Model, you know, we're offering them this incredible opportunity to change their life. It isn't just the prize package, but you know, the career as a model, and obviously this enormous platform and stepping stone into a whole new career.
And so, out of all the contestants that you've seen, I know you've seen so many go through the show, but is there anyone that stands out in your mind in particular?
Well, there are many. I mean, I've seen over 200 contestants, so that, you know, to say that there was one or two that stood out isn't true. And the reality is that we've had, you know, many great contestants, and many of which are friends of mine, and, you know, very successful girls. You know, I just saw that Annalie Tipton is in Crazy Stupid Love, and you know, Yaya was in Boys Don't Cry, and a whole bunch of other movies, and Eva Pigford's, you know, is a constant television personality, and you know, many of our winners don't go on to necessarily become top models, but go into the entertainment industry. But that's hard because you know, we'd love them to get into modeling, and many of them do. But it's very easy for them, almost easier sometimes, to do the entertainment and television because that's what they've been known as. They've been seen on TV. They've got a TV persona. So for them to then lock into a soap opera or a TV daytime drama or something is kind of an easy stepping stone, and oftentimes more lucrative immediately than more so than the modeling business.
Right. And besides America's Next Top Model, what other projects are you working on?
We have a whole bunch of projects. We know it's non-stop. When one thing stops, another thing begins, and we actually have a new season of Top Model, season 18. We start shooting September 29th. So that's not going anywhere anytime soon. I have several new books coming out. I have 2 new photography books and a cookbook I'm working on with my mum. And they'll be coming out in the next year. And I have a new documentary film, my 5th film, and that is based on Haiti again. I did one in Haiti in 2008, and this will be coming out at Art Basel in Miami in December. And it's about 3 different people: a young girl who's 12 years old, a young man who's 22, and an older man who's 64. And the idea is to sort of tell a day in the life of, with these vignettes of these 3 people's lives in one of the worst slums in Port-au-Prince, a place called Bel Air. Now this is a place where I helped build a school in 2008 that now has 300 students. And one of my big, most important things I work for is education. Because I believe that it's through education that we give everyone the opportunity to have a proper life, a real life, and obviously education and knowledge is power. And this film is about sort of, it's about Haiti, but it's really about what is and what could be. Because Haiti is one of those places that really has so many things that are going for it, but are squandered or just ignored, or people aren't able to sort of utilize what's at their fingertips because they don't have the resources. And so we wanted to open that up. So it's kind of a wonderful film.
Great, well I can't wait to see that. And thank you so much for doing this interview. It was really such a pleasure. Thank you.
Get up and dance if you feel